Okay, guys, we're going to learn compound meter counting today. Compound meters are anytime there are meters with an 8 in the bottom, and compound means there's an extra eighth note in every big beat. Okay, so 6, 8, 9, 8, 12, 8. And the 8 in the bottom signifies that all of our values have been doubled. Okay, so when you're counting these, you're counting them like the next bigger note up the rhythm tree. So if you think of your common time values, you're going to go to the next bigger one. So an eighth note in common time in compound meter would be like a quarter note in common time. Okay, so you're going to the next bigger note. So a quarter note in a compound meter with an 8 in the bottom would be counted as a half note in regular time. So you're converting them to the next bigger value, note value. Okay, so notice in this first example, we have 6 beats in a measure, and we have the 8 in the bottom. What that means is all the values have been doubled. So be careful. These are grouped in groups of 3/8 notes at a time because of that compound meter. So in these meters, the dotted quarter note is our big beat, which is comprised of 3/8 notes. So that's why it's called compound. It has that extra eighth note in the subdivided big beat. But that doesn't matter when you're counting, really, because you're going to count to 6 in each measure, and you're basically thinking the next bigger note from what you're looking at. So these have one bar, which is 8 notes, so I count them as quarter notes would be counted in a regular meter. So this would be counted like in common time, a common meter with a 4 in the bottom, like 3/4 notes. So 1, 2, 3. A quarter note would be doubled into a half note. So that would be beats 4 through 5. And then there's a single eighth note. It's like a quarter note. So those are 6 beats. Okay, a dotted quarter would be equivalent to a dotted half in a common meter. So that would be 3 beats. Okay, now be careful when they're barred like this. However many bars are touching that stem signifies what note it is. So this only has one beam touching the stem, so it's a 8th note, single beam. All right, so we count it as it would be a quarter note. And these two in the middle have 2 beams touching, so they are like, those are 16th notes. So if we double a 16th note, we have actually 2 8th notes. And then there's the 1 beam touching that last guy, so he's a quarter note. So those are sort of a visual as to what you'd be thinking in a common meter. So there's 1 through 3, there's beat 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so here we go. A quarter note is like a half note, so it would be 1 through 2. 8th notes become quarter, so that's all of beat 3. This is the one most people get tricked up on anytime you see the dotted rhythm. The dotted rhythm in these meters are pretty much the same. You're just doubling. So a dotted 8th, 16th becomes a dotted quarter followed by an 8th. And then there's the single 8th note, which becomes a quarter note. So that makes you kind of see those values. That's 4 through 5 and 6. Going on here, we have 1 single 8th note, and then all of these are 16th. So if you double all of these, this becomes a quarter note, and then these all become 8th notes. Okay, so in a common meter, you would see, kind of visualize that. So that's beat 1, 2, and 3, and. Notice I'm not using 3E and or 4E and because I would have to actually use 32nd notes, 3 beams on these notes to use those, and I haven't included that in any of these rhythms, but they certainly do exist. A dotted 8th note is the same as a dotted quarter in a common time, so that's going to be, and then we have 3 16ths would become 8. So there's that dotted quarter 8th rhythm. If this is doubled right here, okay, it becomes that. So that's 4 through 5 and then there's 6 and. Okay, so counting in these meters is just doubling values. All right, and now the only thing that's changed for me is there's a 9 in the top, so there's going to be 9 beats in each measure. So I will do this a little quicker. This would be 1 through 2 and 3. Quarter is like a half, it's 2 beats. 4 through 5, 6, 7 through 8, and 9, and. All right, going on, 1, because that's just like a quarter. Here's a dotted quarter 8th rhythm that often is missed. 2 through 3, and. These are all 16th notes going here, so 4 and 5, and that's an 8, turns into a quarter, 6, and that's our 3 count dotted half, 7 through 9. This is a long note in this meter. That is 3 beats here, but if I double that, it's as a dotted whole, which would be actually 6 counts. Then there's 7, 8, and 9. And there's 1 through 2, because again, that would double in value, so it'd be like a half note. These are like 8th notes, so 3 and then these are all, both of these are worth 3 each because they turn into those dotted halves in the regular meter. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so doubling values when there's an 8 in the bottom. Remember, this 8 in the bottom of a time signature means all of our rhythmic values get doubled. Practice makes perfect.